Hey everybody, and welcome back to Send News, the video game podcast where we talk about video games. I did that again. I was going to save it so you wouldn't know what the podcast was going to be about, but then I called it the video game podcast. Here we are, though. We got a lot to talk about this week. First off, the introductions. My name's Brian.
That's a canon intro. I'm Evan Campbell at Darth Burrito. We do talk about the video game news here. That is our business, and business is good.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought this was a podcast about various spices. I brought my whole spice rack, thinking this was the turmeric episode, but I guess not.
We could pivot.
Yeah, we could be.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right on. I'm Amir. Hey.
Hi. Boys, it's just the boys today. We've got a lot of news, much of it about Sony. Obviously, they had the big showcase on Wednesday. A lot of interesting stuff, and then it was kind of a mess. They had to later. They said the pre-orders were going to happen on Thursday, but then pretty much everyone jumped the gun. We did, but the headline is we got prices for the PS5. It's going to be $500 or $499 for the disc drive one, $100 less for the one with no disc drive. And it's coming out, I believe, the 12th in certain countries like the US and Australia and Japan. And then everywhere else, what is it, like a week later or something like that?
Yeah,
I think so.
It's like barely a week, yeah.
Yeah.
Global rollout will continue on November 19th with launches throughout the rest of the world. That's what it says.
A lot of, and you know, they kind of had a couple of big announcements. Final Fantasy 16, which is going to be a console exclusive. At least it seems like a timed exclusive, maybe a 6-month deal. And we saw Miles Morales. We saw this Harry Potter game. We saw, what else? The
Resident Evil.
Yeah,
Resident Evil trailer for that.
Deathloop. The big mic drop at the end was a new God of War game, Ragnarok. So I felt like, you know, Sony has got these things down to an art. Just a lot of quality exclusives, a couple big mic drops. You know, they make it look easy. I know it's not easy, and I know a lot of work goes into it, but they always manage to hit a certain bar with these that Microsoft cannot pull off. Yeah.
The lineup is killer, but I feel like the aftermath has been just a dumpster fire. I mean, there's things they didn't announce during the presentation, like the dates for Spider-Man. There's been confusion about Demon Souls coming to PC, the remaster or not. And that game looks clean. It looks so cool.
It's going to be a launch title. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just been fun to see the aftermath where it's like, pre-orders, you can expect them kind of tomorrow, but they didn't even mention that in their presentation. And then it turned out to not be true because Walmart was just like, hey, what's up? We got PS5s. You want a PS5? Come on over.
Yeah. And then for the rest of the night, my Twitter was just lit up with people doing the equivalent of stampeding during a Black Friday sale.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's a great point. As good as the presentation was, and I thought it was very good, everything after it was just, a huge mess. There was a question over whether Demon Souls, the remake, is coming to PC. They checked again and told Kotaku no, just PS5. It's just been Final Fantasy 16. They said it was coming on PC. And then Square Enix was like, well, we don't have any information about that. And then we kind of sussed out that the real deal is it's a timed exclusive for like maybe 6 months, then it can come to PC and then other consoles after a year. That's what it seems like. So they're doing what Xbox used to do, acting like things are exclusive when it's like they kind of exclusive. They're fudging the language a little bit.
Yeah, diet exclusives.
And I think one game had a screen that came up was like PS5 exclusive content or something, but I just read the exclusive part and I was like, wait, did that say exclusive or exclusive content?
Right.
And I was like a little bit confused. So, I mean, that's on me, I guess. But yeah, it was a fun showcase, I thought, especially for something where we just figured maybe we'd get a price reveal, launch date, and like one big title. I was surprised we didn't see any more Horizon. And then they're holding on to another title, Ratchet and Clank. There wasn't any more of that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
There's other stuff they have to talk about that's coming out. But I was kind of surprised by some of the dates. But I think another takeaway was like, wait, did they announce or talk about any launch titles at all? Like other than Miles Morales, which is coming to PS4 first, or
Demon
as well.
Souls is a launch.
And Demon Souls is being
a launch
launched.
game.
Yeah.
I mean, they have that PlayStation Plus collection.
Classics.
I mean, not really launch titles, but I mean, it's still pretty cool. I do like that.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
So at least you'll have something to play, even though it's previous gen games.
Yeah, it's definitely like a swing at Game Pass, right? Like, or I don't. It's weird because when it's kind of the same thing already, and Game Pass came after PlayStation Plus, and obviously they're kind of different services and they do different and unique things. But the idea that you get all these PS4 bangers just for free, it's not free, you're paying for the subscription, but that you could just have all of those at launch is kind of incredible. Like the presentation of it seemed to hit me a lot harder than I'm just like, oh yeah, I'll see what's hot on Game Pass today.
Yeah.
Even if
especially
you
considering these games are like
$20
$20 each,
right? But even if you have if there's just one or two that you want to play, it's still a decent deal.
Oh yeah,
or that you haven't played already.
Yeah, and like with PlayStation Plus alone, there's so many times where like with the 2 free games they give you each month, most of the times like I have no interest in playing them. Like I'll still add them in my library in case I ever do. But just having like a good collection of literally every single one of those games I would play. Like, so they definitely have a good curated selection. I think that's really nice.
Yeah, let's see, I found a list. God of War, Last of Us Remastered, Uncharted 4, Battlefield 1, Monster Hunter World, Fallout 4, Final Fantasy 15, Last Guardian, Ratchet and Clank, Infamous Second Son, Days Gone, Bloodborne, Detroit Become Human, Batman Arkham Knight, Mortal Kombat 10 or Mortal Kombat X, Persona 5, Until Dawn, Resident Evil, Biohazard. There's a couple of those I have. I played most of those, but it's like even if you get like 2 or 3 out of that, and it is I think to your point, I think it is a response to Game Pass, because I think a huge selling point of the Xbox Series X and the S is if you have Game Pass, you've automatically got a bazillion games to play at day one, and that would have really been I think they're trying to address that somewhat. It's obviously not as good, but that's a pretty strong.
It's a start.
Lineup. Yeah,
it's a start. I mean, honestly, I could see them taking that idea and making sort of like their own Sony Game Pass type thing. I mean, I'm curious to see if they actually do end up adding more titles down the road, because I think I saw it was like something yesterday. I saw it was like 99% of PS4 games are going to be running on the PS5. So I'm curious as to which one of those are going to be added to this like PlayStation Plus Classics thing.
I'm surprised Destiny 2 wasn't on there.
That's right.
Everything. But yeah, to your point about them possibly adding a Game Pass, Jim Ryan, president of Sony Interactive Entertainment, told games industry, no, we're not going to do it. I think his direct quote was, "We're not going to go down the road of putting new release titles into a subscription model. These games cost many millions of dollars, well over $100 million to develop. We just don't see that as sustainable." So they're not going to do new releases, but yes, I can see them have maybe some sort of service like this where it's like a greatest hits collection.
Yeah, I could see them doing like volume 2, volume 3. Maybe one volume has like a bunch of PS3 classics on it, or one volume has PS1 classics.
That would be tight.
Yeah,
that would be amazing.
Anything that's like a big push to get a bunch of subscribers to come and either re-up for their Plus subscription, or get new people to come in and be like, oh yeah, I remember old school like Crash Bandicoot or whatever. I want to play Twisted Metal. I want to play that.
I would have been more excited if it was a PS3 greatest hits collection.
Oh yeah,
that they added, because so many of those games are just kind of lost now.
Yeah,
I'm curious to see, because I know with what is it, PlayStation Now, that like dumb streaming thing they have. I know that it was like super expensive for like a long time, and like they had a decent selection. They had like PS2 games on there, PS2, PS3. And it was like, I think it was like $25 a month or something ridiculous. And they realized nobody was getting it, so they actually brought the price down to like $10 permanently. So I'm curious to see how that PlayStation Classics thing does. Although it's included in the subscription already. So I don't know if like maybe they'll kind of gauge interest and then kind of go from there and like add stuff if people do show interest in this sort of subscription-based service.
They definitely will get data on how many people are actually playing them. Yeah. So that'll be... it'll be interesting to see if this is, like you said, like a one-off, or if they beef it up. I think to me, it feels like what they're trying to do is just to make that transition to the PS5 as smooth as possible, and to give you stuff to play. I mean, they have never done anything like that.
No,
you know, with a new console, Nintendo certainly has.
Nobody
not.
has, yeah. I mean, Xbox sort of now, right, with their backwards. Like this generation specifically is. I think this is what makes it super unique. I would feel like, you know, in history we'll remember this is like the backwards compatible generation where we finally got like a massive amount of effort put towards backwards compatibility. I mean, sometimes, you know, like the Wii could play GameCube games and stuff. That was a pretty big deal. But the libraries have never been this big with this robust of like gaming experiences before. So I think it's really a unique time.
If you're you know, a budget-minded player, you can get a Series S for $300. If you have Game Pass, that is what, hundreds of games. And then even if you get a $400 the all digital PS5, you're right. If you're a PS Plus subscriber, that's 18 PS4 games, good games right out of the box. So pretty friggin' good. And it is nice to see them, finally. I think maybe you're right about the backwards compatible generation, because I feel like we're kind of at the point where people are finally like, no, I'm not going to get a new console and just start all over and build my, you know, and build my collection from scratch once again.
I will say,
go ahead, Amir. Sorry.
I was going to say, I will say I think it could be better, personally. Because, I mean, you know, a lot of people were hoping for full backwards compatibility for Sony. Obviously, Xbox is doing it. I really wish that Sony would have taken notes this generation and just said, all right, you got PS1 games, pop it in there. It'll fire up. Because, like, the PS3 was able to do it. I mean, the PS2, obviously, like, the PS4 was really the first console that wasn't backwards compatible. And it's such a weird direction to go in, and I don't understand it personally.
I think they're on top of things. They obviously killed it with the PS4, and Sony can have some bad tendencies, some bad anti-consumer tendencies.
I mean, they all can, but
right. But I think they're just in this case, I think they're just sticking with what worked last time. It's like the old phrase, everyone fights the last war. And you know, they're going to make big exclusives. You can only come here to get them, and here they are. And no, we're not going to let you play every PlayStation game ever made. We're not going to have a Game Pass kind of service. We're not going to do cloud streaming. We're going to do this one thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, Amir, to your point, the criticism about backwards compatibility, I think comes from not having as large of a leap between generations, right? Like if you jump from Super Nintendo to N64, obviously the games aren't backwards compatible because like the whole way that you put your games in is completely different or whatever. And everything's in 3D now. So like, I think that invites a lot of those comparisons. There are like a lot of technological hurdles because the PS3 was like hell to develop for from what we know and understand. And reporting into like, to carry that hell over to your next gen, I'm sure a lot of hardware manufacturing developers like, we don't want to deal with that anymore at all, like the chip, the cells, processor system, whatever, like get rid of that, let's just focus on new and better, right? So
they're just acting like that gen never happened almost. The PS3.
Exactly. And it sucks for like the legacy of those games and stuff, but I kind of understand why it happens. And then on the other side, I mean, Brian, to your point, I think about making it easy to transition. Like, I think those price points are really solid. I didn't think they were going to hit them. Those are super competitive. Everything we heard and everything we reported on was that, you know, these consoles are going to be expensive to produce. It could make the retail costs go up. You know, the cooling system they're using is more expensive. They're having supply issues. The thing about air freight that just came up like last week ago, that they're putting these boxes on planes instead of on ships, and that's more expensive. And then the rumors about the service on chip stuff like kind of failing, which could also increase I mean, at this point, it's too late, right? Like I think like Alana kind of always says, these big companies kind of pick their prices based on what they're going to take as a loss. But to have a $400 like full-fledged next-gen console going up against the Series S and the Series X, it's like kind of I don't know, if you're a type of consumer or player that has to make that choice between what console you get. I mean, I think like the PS5 is kind of an easy choice there because it's $100 less than the Series X, and it's going to perform better or as good as a Series S.
It's not a weaker system. Exactly. It just doesn't have a drive. I will say though, that chip failure rate to me, I don't know if anybody else has thought about this. that makes me a little bit nervous for this first round of hardware for the PS5, and it kind of makes me wonder, like, maybe I should hold off a little bit and let them, get all the manufacturing worked out, and then get kind of the second batch, because there's a few warning signs here. I'm not saying it's Red Ring of Death bad, but like it's a little disconcerting that the failure rate is like 50% or whatever when they're making these chips. I mean, hopefully, obviously, they're going to quality test the ones that were made, but it's a little disconcerting to me. And one more thing, you were talking about price, and I've read a bunch of chatter online, like, well, if you get that all digital though, you're then at the mercy of Sony's digital pricing.
Sure.
And they've already said that a lot of these games, like Demon Souls is going to be $70. The Miles Morales, the Ultimate Edition is going to be $70. Like they're already starting to kind of push it and establish $70 as the new pricing. And honestly, that's kind of a fair point, I guess. I mean, you don't have any other, you obviously can't use physical media in it. So I see where they're coming from.
Yeah, it makes sense. And one thing to your point about the early failure, I will say both the PS4 the PS3 I got day one and the PS4 I got day one both failed. Like,
wow.
I had to replace both of those consoles down the road. So I'm also a little weary about getting a PS5 day one because of that fact, because I've had a poor track record with my Sony consoles. So it might be best to wait. Like, it's weird seeing all these people like rushing to go pre-order this thing, and I haven't seen anybody talking about like, wait, maybe we should wait for like a slim model, or for them to kind of gauge how other people are, any issues they're having. That's what I'm going to do. I'm probably not going to pre-order this thing, at least not yet. I might wait a little bit just to see, because I'd hate to drop $500 and then have it break on me in like 2 months.
Right. Yeah. I waited on both the PS3 and the PS4 too, and didn't have a problem with the models I got. And I it's going to be hard to wait, but if I can get Miles Morales on the PS4, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah,
well, you can upgrade, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's not free for Sony, right? Is it?
This is something like a $15.
Okay.
Upgrade. I don't know if I'm mixing that up with something else.
Yeah, maybe look it up. But I think what I'm gonna say is, I think that both companies have never made a stronger case to not upgrade than they have in the past, since Microsoft is focusing all on the service. Get Game Pass, you're gonna be fine. We're having a larger library of cross-gen games than we've ever had. And on the Sony side too, it's like all these games that are coming, like Miles Morales, it's coming to PS4 as well. Cyberpunk coming to PS4 and also Xbox One. So you're going to be okay, right? Like, if you wanted to wait, 6 months, you're probably going to be fine until like God of War comes out, or something that's like super, super exclusive and super big, or Ratchet and Clank. I don't think we know the date on that one yet either. So yeah, I don't know. And if they are offering those incentives to upgrade, it's only $10 or whatever. That's even more of a reason to kind of hang back and wait. Internally, I'm screaming, I'm like, but Amir, that could be 2 years away before we get a slim PS5. That's too far. Like, I want to play this stuff now. I want to experience the OS and all, like the controller, everything,
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I wouldn't, me personally, I'm very impatient, so I don't know if I could wait for the slim model specifically. But so for the PS4, when I got like, because Destiny was a launch title, and the first console I got was like the Destiny White PS4. So I got it like day one, and I just, after it broke, I got the black model. Same thing. Like, I still have it, like the base model thick boy, and that is running like a champ.
Yeah.
So I think it's really just about batches. Wait for like the first couple batches to go out. Maybe after everybody scoops them up, then go pick one up. Yeah.
And like, as far as the Xbox, like, I've got a One X. I don't see anything right now like pushing me to immediately have to upgrade from that. I don't know.
And if you have a PC, you really don't.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of the big knock against Xbox. Yeah. What else was I going to talk about? I mean, overall, what did you think of the presentation? I thought they did what they needed to do to move some PS5s. And online, it definitely seemed like they created a lot of energy and a lot of hype, and Sony's just great at that.
Yeah, I wish that the aftermath was a little cleaner, but yeah, I think the presentation itself had me saying like, "Oh hell yeah," a couple of times. So I mean, that's what you want. But the confusion that came after, and on our side, this is like a very us problem. But like me looking for high res product shots of the PS5 has been kind of weird, unless you have like a direct press account with Sony, and that stuff isn't like just freely out there on the internet. But yeah, I wish they had like media packages and stuff like that coincided with their release. They have like a nice blog post or whatever. But
some assets.
Yeah, assets and things. But yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I mean, I kind of wish they showed more new stuff because there were a lot of IPs that we kind of already knew about. It's like getting like a deeper look. I will say the Final Fantasy reveal was pretty. That was pretty ballsy to start on. Just here, new Final Fantasy. There you go. I think that was pretty cool. I mean, overall, it was honestly very much a Sony presentation where it's like we're bringing everything. We're just like. So yeah, that was cool. And also, I'm not a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, but I was a little surprised to see a Five Nights at Freddy's trailer.
Yeah,
that was a little.
I know that was
weird.
I feel like, and Microsoft's been busting out a lot of exclusives too, but a lot of theirs, at least in my mind, seems to be brand new IP. So it's like, okay, cool, that looks great, but I don't really know, I don't know anything about this franchise because it's brand new. Whereas Sony, I think, does a nice mix of like we're gonna have some some sequels, some new stuff. It's a little bit more. Actually, I think most of them were like sequels or remakes.
Yeah, it's like Everwild and Grounded versus like Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and Horizon, and potentially God of War and Demon Souls. Yeah. So
Sony plays to its strengths. Like they know that like people buy PlayStation for the exclusives and like the beloved franchises. So of course, they're going to open with like all their heavy hitters that they have in their back pocket.
Yep.
Which is smart in my opinion, but still wish we would have seen more new stuff.
Backing up a little bit, talking about supplies, there was a big story from Bloomberg saying that Sony cut their PS5 forecast, basically the number of PS5s they were going to produce for the current fiscal year that runs through March by 4 million. So initially they bumped it up and they said we're going to do 15 million. But then they said they cut back on that by 4 million. So it's like now we're just going to make 11. And that was because of, like I was saying before, there were manufacturing problems. There was like a 50% failure rate making the system on a chip. But then Sony came out and said, no, we're not doing that. We haven't cut anything. So I don't know. I tend to believe Bloomberg a little bit on that, and I think Sony's just kind of denying.
Damage control.
I feel like they're kind of trying to hedge a little bit, but clearly they did something. There's clearly an issue.
Their wording was really specific in that too. Like it was like, hey, we haven't cut, the unit production since a particular point in time, which is, I forget the exact quote, but that's basically what they said. It's like, hey, we haven't, once we set our sights on this new number, we haven't changed it, is basically what they said. At least that's the takeaway that I got. I mean, read the report on Bloomberg. It's pretty specific, and read the reply that was on GameIndustry.biz, because that's where that's the outlet they actually talked to.
They said the information provided by Bloomberg is false. We have not changed the production number for PS5 since the start of mass production.
Yeah.
So, they kind of qualified it, which left themselves a little wiggle room there.
Yeah, and they didn't mention anything about chips, right? Like, they didn't say, and if that seems like a really good opportunity to say, like, hey, also that stuff about chips is totally bogus, they didn't take the opportunity to say that.
And Bloomberg's not making this up. Somebody's telling them in the supply chain that this is what's going on.
Or at least, there's some rumblings. And even if it's not that specific thing isn't 100% true, which it seems pretty specific not to be, but even if it's not 100% true, it would indicate that there's something there. And it's good to be, we got some flack on this daily. We ran the story in the daily, and we got some flack on it that we still ran it even with the update with Sony's kind of response. And kind of my response to people in the comments was like, hey, like this is still a thing that happened. It still kind of affected analysts' predictions about how successful they think the PS5 will do in the coming. It had this is a thing that happened, so we're just going to run the story, because if something does come up, like you mentioned before, Brian, like a red ring of death type of situation, or now supply issues, which are becoming a little bit more real than Sony said that they were going to be, with everything being sold out. It's still launch, but if something does come up with the chips or consoles start breaking or whatever, we can look at this report and say like, okay, so this was true. This was a thing in the chain.
Yeah. Also, don't be so trusting of these companies. It's not like Sony. It's not like, oh, Sony said it, that's the last word. Companies can lie, or
especially if they're the ones making the money,
right? Or massage the facts a little bit. Like when Diablo 3 was coming to Switch, and they posted the nightlight of the Diablo thing being switched on and off. It was clearly a reference to that. And then Blizzard was like, oh, no, we don't have any plans to do that. And then, of course, they did. And then later, so it's like companies can misrepresent, and they're not bound by law to tell you the friggin' truth. So just keep that in mind. Like there's no like final word here. And like I said, I mean, obviously Bloomberg had sources. Maybe they are wrong, but I don't think they would have just gone to print with a completely baseless story. So I don't know. That's my takeaway on it. I thought the doing a story on it was completely valid. Even with Sony's denial, you just put the denial in there.
Yeah, I agree.
But make that part of the story, which we did.
That's an excellent point.
Yeah,
and never trust the big boys.
They're not under oath. This isn't a court case.
I think
one nation under Kratos.
Yeah,
the supply stuff is going to be really interesting going forward, as they've said, and also to put that kind of that $4 million reduction, or 4 million unit reduction into context, the PS4 sold significantly less than that, right? I think it was like after 6 months or something, they hit that 10 million mark.
Right.
So to say like we're going to hit 15 million is already a lot. And even if they reduced it by 4 million, that's 11 million. That's still a million more units than they sold of the PS4, which was
an all-time best-selling console.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So it's a high benchmark regardless. There's a lot of interesting factors in that story, I think, to kind of consider. And now with like everything being sold out, it's like, okay, let's see what happens in the next couple months.
And supply issues have been a problem, especially with chips, for lots of different companies all year. So this isn't like the first time we've heard of of companies having supply issues. Sony has had supply issues. So this isn't just like out of the blue, I guess. So that's what makes me believe it, or at least give it a certain amount of credence. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, that's a good point with the sellouts. It's like, oh boy, well, well, let's see. I
wonder. I'm curious to see like that number that they're shooting for. I'm curious if that includes both the disc based and the discless.
Of course,
now they have two different SKUs.
Gotta be both.
Yeah, it's gotta be both. And it seems like, we didn't mention this before, but it seems like there's going to be a lot less of those discless versions around. The kind of reports, people who talk to like GameStop employees and things are saying like, oh yeah, they had like 10 in store of the disc version and only 2 of the discless. And kind of reports like that been kind of going around.
And also I think they are. Sony did bump up their initial order. Like I forgot what it was before the 15 million, but that 15 million was bumped up, and I'm sure they did that because of the pandemic, and people are playing a lot more video games. I'm sure they still are. I mean, I know some of the lockdowns are easing, but I'll bet Sony and Microsoft want to rush these consoles out as quickly as they can to kind of strike while the iron is hot. You know, while we're still kind of being locked down. I mean, God knows, we could be locked down for years now. Who knows? But I think that they are trying to take advantage of that situation and exploit this like renewed interest in gaming, or like, pull some new fans in.
That's a fantastic point, because remember when even Switches were selling out at the beginning of the quarantine in place or whatever, or home quarantine stuff. So yeah, like those ran out, and then now there's even I'm just going to throw this in here real quick. There's even a better reason to own a Switch, because Ori and Will of the Wisp just came out today for that thing, which was nice. There's a mini direct this morning and that thing happened. So Shout out to the Switch.
That's right. I forgot about that direct.
But yeah, like the supply thing is going to be really interesting. Maybe they thought that they would have enough, and now like combined with COVID, it's going to just be really, really extra hard. And maybe they will hit that number as a result. We have learned that digital sales are up and hardware sales are up because of the pandemic. So
yeah, very true.
Let's move on and talk just briefly about the Xbox Series S. There was some controversy over that and backwards compatible games, basically saying that the S wouldn't be able to play the Xbox One X enhanced versions of certain games, basically leading people to kind of infer that it's not as powerful as an Xbox One X, which is on some, yes, it doesn't have as much RAM. I think Digital Foundry found that the Series S has 10 gigs, the One X has 12 gigs. So it's not an apples to apples comparison, but there was some controversy over that this week. Like how underpowered is the Series S going to be?
Right.
Yeah, it's such a fascinating story because of that element of there was a lot of confusion. First off, the IGN headline, and everybody was just like, wait, what? Basically just, and it wasn't that complicated, but when you put all the Series S's and the Xbox One X's and the One S's, and you have these similar naming conventions, I guess people are just going to point out that, immediately. But basically, Series last gen games are going to run the same on Series S as they do on your Xbox One S, basically, like, or not run the same, but they're running the same versions
they were using.
Yes, those are the versions they're using. If you have a Series X, there will be additional enhancements applied to those games. There will be Series X versions enhanced for Series X, basically is the kind of tag that they're using to explain those things. So that's just essentially what it means. So it is weird that a next gen console can't run games better than the previous gen, I guess, but it's the same, it's at parallel, which is what you would get with like backwards compatibility or a port anyway. And they are saying that there's like 3 key points, I think that they said, which will run better potentially, which was like maybe, I don't know if it was refresh rate, but I think like processing and load times and stuff like that. There's definitely 3 things that will improve on the Series S, but they're not like the major improvements like resolution or whatever that you would get on the Series X.
The things people care about.
Yeah. So it's like, for me, it's almost like a non-story. It's just like, okay, come on, like we know.
Yeah, I think really because their naming conventions are like insanely confusing, and like just reading the headlines I'm like, I don't know what you're trying to tell me. This looks like hieroglyphics. The way I'm reading it with all these symbols,
it's not very clean.
Yeah. So just so I understand it, and just so I know what's going on, if you put an Xbox One game into your Series S, if you put an Xbox One game into your Series S, it's going to run the same as the X. But if you put it into a Series X, then it's going to run better than the S and the regular X.
Yes, or one.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Man, even saying that and piecing that together, I still feel confused.
Yeah, I think people.
It's basically the S is the bargain one, and they're a little bit concerned. Like, well, okay, but is it even really next gen? And if it's if it can't handle a lot of these things, so I don't know. We will see. But it's also $300.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also
exactly.
It's fine, and it's capped at 1440p or whatever, and it's not going to be able to perform the same as the Series X, but like it's going to get you there. It's going to play next gen games on it. Like if that's what you care about and you're on a budget, like I think it's a pretty good pickup. Like, and it looks pretty slick. I don't know. I think it's fine. I think
you'll be able to play Halo.
Yeah, you'll be able to play Halo Infinite, for example. So I think it's okay. Out. You'll still be able to play those games. You might just get a little FOMO or something like, oh, like this version of Ori is not running at 120 frames per second, and that's gonna matter for some people, and for some people they're not even gonna notice.
I'm curious to see if after those headlines, even though it is like a total non-story, I'm curious to see how that actually affects sales of the Series S. Like, I wonder how many people with the means are going to be like, oh, well, screw that. I want my games to look as pretty as possible. I'm not going to buy this thing, Because like on a surface level, it looks like it's literally just saying it's not as good, pretty much.
Yeah,
Right.
And we kind of already knew that.
All right, we're going to get to the questions in just a second. But first, guys, very important. Let's talk about Lumen Skin. What's up with Lumen Skin? You might be wondering. Well, I'll tell you, it's great. I do have Lumen Skin products. I have the moisturizing balm, and it is super helpful because, you know what, fellas? Sometimes we don't moisturize all the time. Here's the truth, guys. Your skin has needs. If you want it to look as good as possible for as long as possible, you've got to address them now. And you might be wondering, I don't know, Brian, where to start? Well, there's a company that's taken all the guesswork out of it for you, Lumen. They're on a mission to help men get the amazing skin they deserve through high-quality, expert-created products delivered right to your door. Even if you don't have any idea where to begin, they make it easy to find the right skin management system that's best for you. Maybe you got dry skin, maybe you got combination skin, maybe you're oily. I'm a dry boy, but you know what? Everybody's different. Choose from different skin concerns to address, or just pick up a simple starter pack for free. You deserve to look and feel your best. Here's where you start. Go to lumenskin.com/sendnews, all one word, to get a 1-month free trial of everything you need to start your skincare journey at home. That's Lumen, Lumin, skin, skin.com/sendnews, SENDNEWS, all one word, to get your first month for free. Thank you very much to Lumen Skin. We love you. They've been a nice little sponsor for us. But also,
and you know what they say, the two most important
RTX.
things you can do is drink water and moisturize.
That's right.
So
that's absolutely right.
That thought.
That's right. No, I'm glad you did. You gave them a little extra there. RTX is going on right now. RTX at home. AT&T is presenting it this year. Thanks to AT&T 5G, we're able to bring an awesome RTX straight to you in the comfort of your own home. AT&T's 5G network is available nationwide. Whether you're at home or on the go, you'll enjoy coverage in more places. Plus, AT&T, they don't make it complicated. 5G access is included in all best consumer unlimited plans at no extra cost. Guys, like I said, RTX at home going on right now. Join us for virtual panels from your favorite shows. We've got one at IG, I believe it's on Tuesday. Podcasts, a whole bunch of exclusive merch drops, and more, all without putting on real pants. Win-win. All thanks to AT&T. For more information on AT&T 5G, visit att.com/5G. So, we've had an interesting technical difficulty filled podcast today. Yeah. Probably you guys won't even know, but my laptop crashed. It was a whole thing.
We got this. Yeah, it'll be all right.
Evan's gonna have a great time editing this later.
I think we proved that Brian isn't real and he's just a digital fabrication.
I
swear I saw your wireframe like you're glitching out.
Awesome. Yeah, that's real. That's real, BG. Let's read some questions, and we got these from our Twitter account at Inside Gaming. So yeah, if you interact with us on Twitter, we might read you on the air like this.
Oh,
you might be famous. I Like Playing It Down asks, what is a mechanic or system you discovered in a game that you wish other games would use in their systems? For me, it would be the time shift mechanic of Singularity or the world destruction of Red Faction, both never really exploited by other developers. Yeah, the Red Faction, I think they're talking about the destructible environments. That was huge. Super cool.
There's a weapon you get in that too that makes like miniature black holes or something, and you like shoot it out and then it like sucks the building pieces in, if I remember correctly. That Red Faction guerrilla warfare was really cool. That's a cool game. They did a remastered. No, wait, is that a...
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mastered, but there's also the Red Dead is also called remastered, right? But a different... was that just a joke? Yeah, for like...
Wait, remastered?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's just what people were saying.
Official title for that one.
But yes, Red Faction was awesome. They should have made it the official title. And Singularity, if you don't know, is a game where you could make people get really old really quickly. And I forget if it was like a gun or like a hand thing, but it was a game about I think like a Soviet island or something that you end up on, and there's an experiment. That's really cool. that game was cool. But I do have a pick. My pick is Ratchet and Clank Crack in Time. The puzzle mechanics where you play as Clank and you make clones of yourself, but they're also clones in time. So whatever you do happens, and then you clone yourself, and then while that clone is doing something,
cool.
then you have to also do something else with the new clone, and then it would stack. And when they first made those puzzles, the developer who was designing them was like so in his head about it that he made them way too hard, and they had to like dial them way back. So there's like a lot of depth for puzzles to go there. So I hope that something like that comes back. Maybe in Rift Apart. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
He had mentioned time travel mechanics or time shift mechanics. That game Braid, that was, I think I played it on the PS3, but just sort of being able to back up in time a little bit and then go forward and back. It was very simple, but it made the platform so challenging and added just a whole different dimension to things. I really like that. That just popped right into my head.
Yeah, Jonathan Blow's Braid, the developer who's not very popular on Twitter right now.
Is he like in trouble or something?
Came up about panels and free speech, and he was like, if you're not going to let people talk on panels or whatever, then I'm not doing any more. He basically like took his ball and went home. And people were like, see, the witness was okay, I guess, John.
I also like the time shift thing. Have you guys played Katana Zero?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that gameplay loop is so satisfying because of like the rewind ability. It's just it never gets old because you're like, I think I could do this a little bit better, and then you could like kind of go back and then try it. It's just it's so much fun. I love anytime a game has that sort of feature where you can kind of manipulate things and do things differently but kind of the same. I really like that. I think that's pretty cool. But I mean, I think like my
that game is just dripping in style too, right?
Yeah, it's like vaporwave aesthetic mixed with like it's so good. I love that game so much. I don't know. I'm a big fan of like real time physics. Like I love games that have like physics that feel like they could be like they're in your world almost. Like Boneworks has really good physics. Obviously, it's a physics based VR game, but it's just like it's so satisfying to play to the point where it's like ultimate immersion, especially considering it's VR. So like you forget that you almost like forget where you're at when you have the headset on because everything just feels so real. I wish more games did that, honestly. Like I really like how Boneworks. I like the developer, Stress Level Zero. I like how they make their games. They all have like a very specific style in the way the games play, and I wish more games kind of followed suit in that regard.
I also like any game with like a pet mechanic where you can send the pet to attack and like get the pet to tank while you melee or something like that. It's always fun. And various games have done it with various degrees of success, but just kind of I don't know. That's been fun. Let's move on. Stephen Allen asks, with PS5 prices just announced, do you think people will be paying more on PlayStation as they'll end up spending more on next-gen games as the PS Plus collection is only current-gen games, unlike Xbox and Game Pass, which will have next-gen games included? Yeah, and we talked about that a little bit. And yeah, I mean, Game Pass, boy, if they keep up that first, we're putting new releases on Game Pass, they're from their Microsoft Studios. Yeah, that's a big bargain. So, I can definitely conceive of PS5 players having to just pay more for each game. Yeah, because if you're paying $60-$70 for a new release versus $15 a month, I don't know. I guess you'd have to add it up over time, like over 3 or 4 or 5 years.
Honestly,
definitely more upfront they're paying.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be an issue for most people because I think a lot of people who are specifically like Sony. I don't want to use the term fanboys. It has such a negative connotation. But like people who are Sony fans. They probably just won't care because it's like, oh, well, I want to be on PS5. I want to be in the Sony ecosystem or whatever you want to call it. I don't think it'll matter too much unless you're like really, strapped for cash, then maybe you'll have that kind of financial foresight. But I think most people are going to be like, I don't care. When the new game comes out, I'll scrape together $70 and get it. I don't care. I want to be on this console.
it's almost two separate demographics too, of like the player who needs to play the newest thing that comes out, and those people are always going to spend more. And like for us who work in the industry, and like I don't know how much you want to get into it. There's discourse going on right now about outlets buying consoles for writers and stuff, which generally is not how it works. Everybody buys their own stuff. Sometimes you get one to share in the office, a box or two boxes to share in the office, and that's kind of how you do reviews.
Hell yeah, I would love for them to buy me a console.
Yeah,
Let's
exactly.
do it.
Exactly. Yeah. So a lot of us are looking at like $1,000 this year to, or roughly under, to kind of keep up with the modern trends. But there are also, that there's like a complete, existence of other people who play games who do play on a budget, and they are savvy in that way. And I think like, yeah, Xbox probably offers the better budget there, but I think in terms of like the hype and the games that people want to play, like maybe Sony's winning out in that way. So yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, I think the value is on Xbox, but I just don't know how the demographics break down and the fans are going to want it to align.
If I were on a budget, I can definitely see the Xbox. Or if I'm a kid at home and like, I'm not making my own money, yet I don't have a job, I can see Game Pass maybe being the stronger option. Because I remember being like, 11 years old, 12 years old, and sort of saving up, and I might buy 1 or 2 games a year.
Yeah.
That's it. So it's like, these were big decisions. So, I think it's just kind of where you are in your life. Yep.
You rented them.
Huge thing.
Renting them weekly. You save up. You usually can save up enough money in a year to get one game, and sometimes if you're lucky, you get one for your birthday or Christmas, and that's kind of same for me, Brad. Yeah, that's kind of where I was.
It forces you to beat it in a week too.
There you go. Yeah, totally. That was one of the rumors, that Battletoads was so hard. They did it to kind of combat the rental market, so you couldn't just beat it in a weekend.
Oh,
yeah.
I've certainly rented Battletoads more than once, so it works.
Stephen Allen goes on to ask, do you think physical retailers will limit stocks of digital edition consoles over their disk drive versions?
Absolutely.
I know if I ran GameStop, I would certainly try and stock as many PS5s with disk drives as possible and as few PS5 digital editions as possible. Yes, I could I mean, maybe that's a little conspiratorial, but they're only going to make money off that one console sale. If it's a digital.
And they're not doing great right now, right? They need a win. They need GameStop.
Yeah.
They need to win. Any retail, I think, a lot of reasons. Last gen, the conversation we were having is that, the failure of the Xbox One marketing and everything, like, it's never going to work because the retailers who sell your actual box are never going to jump on to an all digital console, an all digital future. They're going to delay that for as long as possible. And it's not just GameStop. It's Walmart, it's Target, it's Best Buy. They all, I don't know, some of them do have like trade-in programs and stuff too. But they want you to come. What I mean is, they want you to come into their store to buy a box, so that hopefully you buy something else. That's just how it works.
Totally.
And it's in their best interest to have people to physically buy them. versus the like Sony or Nintendo or Microsoft completely controlling the output. Either through, shipping and all that, distribution.
Yeah, because if you have a customer, right? Because a lot of like games, like I used to work at GameStop, and I know we had a lot of repeat customers. A lot of people lived in the area, like we're their home store, so they come to our store to buy their games or whatever. And with a generation that offers a diskless option, if you have a repeat customer who's been going there for years, they come in, they buy a diskless console. They have no reason to come back to you anymore. Like that's the last time you'll see them.
We'll see
GameStop
in 7
makes
years.
all their money. Yeah, exactly. And GameStop makes all their money off pre-owned games. Like that is where all their money comes from. Is they get 100% of the sales of the pre-owned games. So just by selling a diskless console to a customer, you lose them forever because they're just going to buy all their stuff. They'll probably come to you for, I don't know, pop figures or amiibos or whatever. But that's about it.
One less reason to come into the store. Yeah,
I think it's going away. Yeah. I think it's inevitable though. The digital, it's like Thanos. It's going. it's going to happen sooner rather than later. I hate it. I love physical, but
same.
Yeah, it's dread it, run from it. Destiny arrives. Gabriel Lecomte asks, "What Zelda game would you like to see remade, remastered on Zelda's 35th anniversary next year?"
Easy. This is easy.
So
all of those
many.
Capcom games for me. Oracle Ages, Seasons, and then they already did Link's Awakening. So But if they did those other two games in that style, the Link's style, and then there wasn't frame rate issues, that's the win.
For me, honestly, I need Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, but like I really want to play the 3D remakes that they made for the 3DS. I want those on Switch. That should happen. That needs to happen.
Like
Sorry,
Spirit Tracks and Link.
That would be cool.
What's the other one?
Minish Cap.
Two Worlds. Oh, Minish Cap. Yeah, that's also a Capcom joint, I believe.
I think so. Yeah. I would like, and I don't think they've ever done this, but a ground up 3D remake of the very first one, where it's where it looks like the Breath of the Wild style. I mean, you'd have to kind of completely reimagine it, but that was so much. I think of Breath of the Wild's design was derived from that first game, where it was they just removed all the barriers, and that's what made it so revolutionary. I think there's I think it would be so cool to just take that first one and redo it, put it on a little gold Switch cartridge. It would be awesome.
There is a GDC talk that Nintendo did right before Breath of the Wild came out. And it's exactly what you're saying, Brian. When they developed Breath of the Wild, they used those NES assets to just do the original designs and passes at like testing the mechanics, like with the leaf and the wind, the water, the trees, and some of those mechanics. They tested it in at least in the GDC talk, what they showed was them testing it in what looked like the first Zelda game. So you can go find it. It's online now somewhere. I forget what it's called, but just look up GDC Breath of the Wild talk. It's very, very cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so, it's for them to do that and go back and redo it or do it in a different way. Do it up like that first one would just be like such an honor and a tribute and so cool.
Yeah. And that game was unbelievable at the time. Like unbelievable how good it was and like how many standards it set. It was just like completely revolutionary for the time. I just think it would be like a really cool. I don't know if they'd ever do it. I would love it if they're secretly working on it right now. But that's my wish.
Well, honestly, I mean, Nintendo and their back catalog, it's just like they don't know what to do with it, and it upsets me.
That's
because they have so many bangers just over the years, and like if they did stuff like that, like they took risks with their IPs and their like. I wish they would do more remakes and ground up rebuilds. But that would be sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have time to talk about F-Zero, Amir. Okay. Which I want to see so badly.
All right. Well, let's call it an episode. This has been a roller coaster ride
on the tech side for sure.
That's right. Maybe a little bit shorter. We'll do better next week. But hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Take care. Drink water and moisturize.
Boy, we learned a lot this week. We learned that the Xbox Series S exists. The little sibling console.
Yeah.
And then we got pricing info and release dates on both of them. So the Xbox Series X, no surprise, $500.